The Adventures of Batman.
Welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to Batmanimation, BatmanOnFilm.com's Batman podcast that explores the animated adventures of the Caped Crusader. I am Senior BOF Contributor Ryan Lower, and joining me are two other Bat fans. First of all, he's the editor-in-chief and gumbo guru, Bill Jett Ramey. Bill, hello.
Hello. What makes you think
Welcome.
I'm a Batman fan?
Just
Assuming that
because you got an R tattoo for Robin.
Yeah.
So
Okay, that's a dead giveaway for sure.
Yes, that's obviously a giveaway. And then you saw, I don't know, a couple Batman movies. So maybe maybe it was a reach.
It had nothing to do with I've had a Batman website for 25 years, and I've got, much to announcer Rachel's chagrin, I got a whole room full of Batman collectibles and merchandise. So
with more on the way. There's a BOF section at the post office.
There is more on the way, because you know what? That frickin' McFarlane released that 6-set, movie, the movie Batman set that I had to pre-order. And I had to. I was forced.
You're gonna have to cut this out so announcer Rachel doesn't hear this. I know she listens to all these all these shows.
She's 3 or 4 times.
Oh goodness. You just tell her that there's a Gotham Rogues jersey in there for Graceland, and all will be forgiven.
Oh, good. Yes. I'm also staring at this pre-order of those. They're almost like Funko Pops, but they're not Pops.
Oh yeah,
they are. They're the suits from the Bat Vault and the Flash. Y'all seen those?
Yep, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring in the other guy so he can comment too. He's been a familiar voice here on Batmanimation of late. It's Mr. Patrick Johnson. Patrick, how are you? I want to include you in this conversation.
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. No, I'm good. I've Graceland gave me the moniker of Junior BOF Detective in Training, so that's there that's you go. My moniker. Yeah, she was nice enough to give me that.
That fits perfectly on on those lower thirds that pop up of Patrick Johnson, Junior BOF Detective in Training for Graceland, knighted by Graceland Ramey. I don't know
exactly.
It all fits under there. Gentlemen, good to speak with you today on this episode of Batmanimation, because episode that's been chosen is from a series that I was actually, when I was trying to think of whenever I could come back to Batmanimation, of an episode to choose from Beware the Batman series, because out of everything, that's the one that's the most connected, has a story run through, so it's not as just pick an episode as all other episodes of Batman cartoon series. But the episode today comes from the one and only season of the show, but it was episode 19, and it was called Animal, or is it Animals?
Animal.
I'm totally prepared. Okay.
Animal, yeah.
So I mean, how did this episode kind of come about? Because I actually don't know which one of you chose this.
That would be
the brainchild of this one.
That would be Patrick, so he can answer that question.
All right, Patrick, you chose this episode, and what made you choose Animal?
Well, I like stories that are confined to one place, and when I was looking at the different episodes to choose, him being trapped in a prison and trying to fight his way out, I just thought put him on a completely badass level. And we've done some fun Batmanimation episodes up to this point. Some of them a little more lighthearted than others, but this one gets down to like his brutality, and the name is appropriate because he has to get down to his animal instincts to fight to survive, to get out of this. So I thought it was fun, and it starts off almost like you're in the middle, like the second act of something, and I enjoy that. I always like the second act of something. So like, The Dark Knight or Empire Strikes Back, you're not being introduced to much. You're just thrown in the middle of the chaos. And that's always usually my favorite out of a trilogy. Anyway, that's why I picked it.
Excellent. So it says this originally aired September 21st, 2014. This was the back half of season 1, in which I was able to keep track of. It was quite a task to keep track of watching the first 13 episodes of Beware the Batman. But the back half, it was buried, hard to keep track of. So I didn't get to watch this until it was released on Blu-ray, and I bought it and I just watched the whole series. Was it maybe a similar situation to you two, or you saw it way after the fact? Or
I reviewed these for Batman on Film, and so there's not a review of this because they cut it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. And so I'm like you, Ryan. I don't think I hadn't seen this. I've seen it once before, and it was when I got the Blu-ray, only just to finish watching. What was started, and they abruptly ended it, which that's a whole different conversation. I thought they get me started on the why this should have been on like an evening broadcast, not in the Saturday mornings. But anyway, whatever. So yes, I never knew when originally.
I never knew when this was coming on, and I saw it advertised every now and then, and I was really busy and on the road a lot during that time. This was 2014, and so I totally missed it. So like you guys, I just went and bought the DVDs before the Blu-ray came out.
That's true,
because I wanted to watch them.
Yeah,
they moved it to, they just shut it down on Cartoon Network and moved it to like 2 a.m. on Adult Swim or something like that. Am I
Saturday night / Sunday morning, something like that? Yeah, it was completely like, what the hell? Like, if you've already made them,
what was the demographic for this show? I mean,
people. This was airing in that last hour that clubs are open around the country. They're like, hey, let's turn it on Cartoon Network and watch Beware the Batman while we're all dancing and drinking. That makes sense.
I don't know. I mean, this was not, to me, it just wasn't something that it wasn't geared for a kid who's going to get up and watch it at 8-9 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Depending on and it wasn't like it was, it's not overly adult or anything like that, or I wouldn't even call it like super. I mean, like just adult. It's just, it was a little, it's different, higher up on the scale of viewer maturity than say Batman Wheels or, something like that. So Bat Wheels. And even Brave and the Bold, because the Brave and the Bold had that double thing going on where kids watch it for face value stuff and adults are laughing at a lot of the inside cool jokes and nods to DC history. So anyway, back to Beware the Batman.
Beware the Batman. And I think this is only, Bill, didn't you and Javi talk the first episode of this series? And is that the only time that on Batmanimation?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I definitely wanted to get back to this series.
For sure.
And you're right, Ryan. It is it's episodic, and so you almost feel like you want to like start with episode 1 and just do them in order. But
exactly,
we're not going to cover all. Probably, I doubt we'll get to all episodes of this. Yeah.
And kind of as Patrick highlighted too, of like a standalone episode, and rewatching this one because it's been a while since I've watched it. I do think this one does heavily play on, like it can stand alone. It does have threads that carry on to the last episode, the last couple of episodes, as well as like in the future. But also, I watched this and I didn't have to pause and have to do some kind of.
I'm with you.
Homework to check.
I'm with you because I barely remembered it. I just knew maybe from the title when Patrick suggested it, and I watched it. And I agree with Patrick's point. It does feel a little bit like you're dropped in the middle of something, like the second act, but you're not, it's not like it's completely like you're not lost. And then of course there is a little bit at the end where it sets up, what comes later, but it's what 95% standalone episode.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's my opinion. For Animal, I think IMDb has a good, one long sentence kind of breakdown or setup of the episode. And I mean, of course, we can dive into more specifics, but it breaks it down as: in order to track a thief who's stolen a dangerous piece of code breaking software, Batman has himself arrested and thrown into Blackgate Prison. Directors Sam Liu and Butch Lukic, which are, of course, I mean, around these parts, and especially with Batmanimation, we brought up their names plenty of times. They're heavily involved in Batman animation, like prior to this series, even going back to, I think they're both involved with maybe like Batman Beyond even, but definitely the Batman, as well as some of the DC animated movies. Writer Mark Banker, which I didn't do a whole lot of looking back on does his name sound familiar to either of you two?
I was going to ask both of y'all that. I'm not for, a lot of these are like, the two you just mentioned, we see them throughout Batman animation and DC animation.
Yep.
Various forms, whether it be TV series or movies. I don't recognize Mr. Banker. So I was going to actually ask. He's
got a lot of credits, writer's credits in animation. And he's done, actually, of the 26 episodes of Beware the Batman, he's written 8 of them. He's dipped into Marvel stuff, Scooby-Doo, a lot of Scooby-Doo stuff. So good for him. I feel like maybe that's like a requirement. If you're going to do some animated stuff, you've got to do Scooby-Doo at some point.
And Scooby-Doo,
a couple episodes.
There's been Scooby-Doo and Batman movies and episodes, all connected.
That's right. This is almost a Batman Scooby-Doo podcast. So I think we've covered almost all of them.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I put a set of the Scooby-Doo action figures in my watch list on eBay because I wanted to do a little display of the Batman and Robin meets Scooby-Doo like movies in my Batman. So maybe that'll happen soon.
Now you're talking.
Because Bill said it's all connected. The cast, couple highlights real quick. I mean, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this stuff. I always like bringing up people from behind the scenes work. I always butcher his name, who's doing the voice of Batman. I go with Anthony R because I don't want to mispronounce his last name. Vivar. I'm gonna try and say it again. Christopher McDonald, who many people would know as Shooter McGavin, the voice of Harvey Dent.
Yes,
he brings, and I kind of forgot because it has been a couple years since I last did a watch through of this series. Which the series as a whole, I really like, but man, he brings a bit of a jarring take of Harvey Dent to the show.
Yeah. A little obsessive.
Yeah. And it's almost a little jarring because I'm just so used to and it's my preference, but I don't know if it's my preference because of my first exposure with, Harvey Dent, Gordon, and Batman, but Harvey's on a one-man mission, and it's he's a good guy, but you think almost we got to get rid of this good guy because he is almost against Gordon. He's definitely against Batman, and my sensibilities are no, they're the trio working together, and then the tragedy comes to Harvey Dent. Not Harvey's just out on his own, just almost authoritarian a little bit or something. And I do think Christopher McDonald, which I've seen him in other stuff, he does a really good job of being an a-hole. It's just an uncanny ability and stuff I've seen him in that he's just, he's a bit of an a-hole.
I like this twist on him. I agree with you. It's not what we're used to, but I've always liked Batman stories where Gordon is really the only guy that he kind of is, in cahoots with, where everyone else is after him. So it didn't bother me too much. And I really like how kind of he's headstrong to a fault. He's so motivated to catch Batman that he, doesn't even bother to tell Gordon that he, arrested him. So I agree.
Yep. I was speaking of, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I was just going to mention, because we're talking about Harvey Dent, it was it makes me wonder what they had planned for that, going forward. Clearly they had something planned because Harvey Dent is in it. We know what Harvey Dent's ultimate fate is, but in between that, do they get to the point where Harvey and Batman become kind of allies to, and maybe even Gordon as well. So that's just a hypothetical that we don't.
Sure. But
so
it's hard to not think of that though. And like down the line of how he would have been, because I too, like Patrick, you said you like this. I do like this version. Yeah, it's a little jarring because it's not what I'm used to, but it also is something new. And I don't think it's disrespectful or dumps on the character's history or anything like that. But then in my mind too, it's like, oh, what could have been when he does finally make that turn? He could have been a very intense, Two-Face and scary and very effective.
Do you guys think that this show was basically canceled right when it really started getting like its footing? I mean, I felt story-wise it was getting better and better as it went along. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead, Ron.
I'm curious though, because of how, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it, where the series ends up, if it would have turned into something that's not my cup of tea. But I do think that I think that back third, maybe the back fourth for sure of the series, they found their footing. And I think storytelling wise, it's pretty seamless. I think it's tight. There's a direction they're going, and it's just like it moves. I feel like those last maybe 5 or 6 episodes of the show. So
that's what I was thinking.
Maybe that's my long-winded way of agreeing with you. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it would have been my preference, but I would have watched it. Like if it's Batman and it's not terrible, then I'll just keep watching it. So, Kurtwood Smith, the voice actor for Gordon, does a great job. I've been a massive fan of his because of him as Red Foreman from that 70s show, but many other people will know him for RoboCop, Clarence Boddicker. He's a real a-hole on that one. And then lastly, Wade Williams does the voice of Killer Croc. It's all connected as always. He's done voice work, and he was the voice of Harvey Dent in the Dark Knight Returns adaptation. I think he did some Under the Red Hood, I think the animated movie. He was in one of the live action, I think it's Dark Knight Rises. He was just kind of a background character there too. And then also Tara Strong voices Barbara Gordon, which Tara Strong is in everything Batman. So
if Pete was on this show, as soon as you mentioned Tara Strong, he would have started sweating.
Overheated.
Like there's no tomorrow. Yeah.
He'd have overheated.
Yeah.
That's a oh, what a moment that was. So the story in itself, I mean, to expand or zone in on certain aspects of it, like what do you think so this character named the Key steals, some valuable information, gets thrown into Blackgate prison, and Batman knows, like, oh, once he's in there, other inmates, like, he's a target, and it's not good people that are going to try and get him and expose this information. So then Batman's got to be one, which we've seen. I think it's a nice twist on a quote unquote familiar premise, in a sense of like, I've got to go into the prison and be one of them. I think we've seen it in that story show up in numerous TV shows and movies and stuff, but like this is like the Batman twist on it. And the fun Batman twist on it is that Killer Croc is the king of Blackgate. Now, Patrick, you did a lot of story prep, so I think I want to hand it to you on maybe some aspects of this story that you'd really like to highlight.
Okay. Well, Killer Croc was is this the first time we've seen him with a Southern accent? Because they mentioned him wrestling alligators in Florida, and he kind of sounds like he could be from there. With
the accent, and then also a very slight little like Southern drawl, and
he's
got a bit of a harmonica popping
drawl
up with his soundtrack theme every time it comes on.
He's whittling wood, and he's got a little piece of weed in his mouth at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Spitting some tar out the other side.
Yeah, I thought he was great. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
No, I just answer your question. In the Batman, didn't he have a Cajun quote unquote accent? I don't
remember. I haven't watched one of his episodes from that.
I think you might be right.
I think
I appreciated that. Yeah. I thought he was intimidating, threatening, a little scary, but at the same time he had a little bit of sense of humor to him. Basically saying you're coming in here and you got to fight your way out. That's the only way out, and is through. And I enjoyed that. Did you guys think that the fight did it remind you of the Escape from New York scene with Kurt Russell having to fight that guy with the garbage cans as shields and the baseball bats? Because that's the first thing I thought of.
Now that you mention it, yes. Yes, because it's been forever since I've watched that movie. So yeah. I don't know if that's we see a lot of things when we've talked about this stuff. Are they nods to such and such, or are they not? But it certainly calls back to that if you want it to, right?
Yeah. It also reminded me of a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie I really liked as a teenager. It was called Death Warrant, where he had to go into undercover as a prison and, of course, fight his way out. And he had a big villain at the end of that one called the Sandman that he had to fight. I can't remember who played the Sandman, but I just love this the whole premise of him having to go in, and he takes the belt off, but of course he's got the explosive still on his hand. No one can unmask him because he has that sonar thing and tries to deafen everyone.
What do you think of Croc's design?
I thought it was like the Batman animated series design on steroids, like even bigger, especially when he like spread his arms and you saw his wingspan, because that reminded me a lot of an episode called Vendetta, if you remember that from Batman animated series. He does something very similar as he's going to fight Batman in the sewers. What do you think about his design?
I really like his design here. I think it is almost it's closer to the animated series than the Batman. The Batman made him look like a walking crocodile, and I'm less of a fan of that design. I like him. I do like him more of like, he's a big, strong guy with the scaly skin.
Right.
And so there's definitely like, Croc elements with him in this design, but he leans more on the, human physique than the lizard type. And so because otherwise I mean he kind of, to me, when he shows up even in the comics and stuff too, and he's more of like the lizard, I just think of Spider-Man's the lizard, and I'm like, it's too close, even though I know they're both reptiles, human reptiles, but it's just like, no, this is how you can help keep it distinct, and add some layers to the Killer Croc backstory and stuff. Is he does look much more human, but he does have the scaly skin and stuff. And so I really like the design in this one.
It was fine. I thought I like it when I don't like when he's like just a walking reptile at all.
Right.
It just takes me out because my sensibilities are more keep it relatively realistic. Just to bring it up, I like the Lee Bermejo's interpretation of Killer Croc. If you remember from Joker, shout out
if I remember.
Shout out to our friend of the show, Lee Bermejo.
That's right.
That I liked, where it's almost a skin condition, that causes him to be very scaly, give it like a reptilian. So they started calling him like Croc. But anyway, I digress from that. But yeah, it was fine. It was better than I wasn't a big fan of the Batman's aesthetic for the character.
Exactly. And so, go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to ask if the elevator fight reminded you guys of the fight from Winter Soldier, where Captain America had to get in there and say, anybody wants to get off now, because both of these scenes came out in the same year, 2014. Of course, this one came out after, but I just thought of that instantly, where he goes in, the door shut, and he just takes out those three guys.
I don't know that there is a long reel of elevator fights, so definitely if there is one, I think it always kind of leans back to Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
for me, a little bit. Like
that one being the coolest without a doubt. But my brain did go there when I saw them fighting.
The one that stuck out in my mind though was the note to Rises, and the gun being fired and Batman dodging it, and it's very like Flash, he's one side, Flash the other side, Flash, he's right in front and hits. Like that made me think of Rises.
I didn't think of that one, but yeah,
look at that.
Right,
we're all learning today. Batmanimation, always a student, right, Bill?
Always. Lifetime student, lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you guys enjoy the actual fight when he gets down to Croc? Did y'all enjoy how he's basically has to study where Croc's weaknesses are and take advantage of those and really exploit them? It reminded me of
methodical.
Yeah, I like it when Batman is out physicaled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, she was here, but he's also such a tactician and smart. He finds the weakness and goes for it. It's kind of like it reminds me of a little bit of Dark Knight Returns and the mutant, the mutant boss. He takes him out. What's that line?
This mud is an operating table.
And I'm the surgeon.
Yeah.
So it's, as Patrick brought up, and he doesn't have his belt, so he's entering without an arsenal, and he's entering somebody who he's clearly outsized. So it's almost like it's a Dukes of Hazzard. Like, how's he going to get out of this one? And then you strap in, and sure enough, just like them Duke boys, gets out of it somehow. And I think that always adds, that's and not to over exaggerate, but that adds drama. It adds tension. It's a good, it's not just another paint by the numbers sort of deal. It's a good way to definitely mix it up. So then as I think to help for the age group that maybe they were aiming for here too, it zooms in on his spot and his by his armpit that you can see is bruised. Then it shows another part in the abdomen that's very bruised, and then back to Batman. And so it visually guiding you and helping you as a viewer of zone in. This is what Batman's zoning in on. This is what he's going to take advantage of. And then he does. And I mean, he works pretty flawlessly at taking him down. And then he gets close to, I wasn't sure on why he got so close to crossing the line though.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, it was just, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think that plays into the title of the episode, that in order to survive, like we were mentioned earlier, it was survival of the fittest. And you got to a point where he almost crossed the line, right? You saw he was punching with his fist, and then his hand turns into a knife position. So you're wondering what technique is coming next.
Yeah.
Is it a kill strike? Is he going to hit him in the neck and, paralyze him? What's going on? And he even tells Katana that, you don't need to be here for this. And I'm like, whoa, he's got some plans here.
Yeah.
It reminded me, it took me to the Batman where he loses it on that, that last Riddler follower, and just pummels him, and Catwoman, Selina's looking in shock, and there was almost a little. I mean, I know they're not related. I know Matt Reeves didn't pull from this story, but but
it is all connected. So
it's Batman, and it's connected, and so it's just that Batman almost crossing the line until he, in Katana's, that's enough, or I forget her exact line. And I will say, as someone who's not a big fan of Batman teenage sidekicks, I do like Katana as his partner in a way.
Well, she's his bodyguard, right?
Yeah.
That's technically her job.
She's brought in by Alfred to be his bodyguard. And so I can buy into her being a partner to Batman more so than I can a 12-year-old Robin. So, but that's just me. So I thought having her instead of a Robin was a good and different, kind of a fresh twist to what we're used to with the other animated stuff.
I like her. I like her as I don't see her as really as a partner. I think she's kind of doing her own thing, but I think she's trying to watch over and protect Batman if she can. Not that he needs a lot of protecting, but she is, when I doing a little research, they have her set in her 20s, and I that's exactly the age where if you were going to have any type of partner for Batman, and he is set at 30 according to what I was able to find. So yeah, if you're going to have someone palling around with him, even if it's not, doesn't have to be Robin, be whomever, but you can't, like you're saying, Bill, you can't have them be a kid. I don't even want them in their teens, so, and she is very formidable. She can take care of herself.
Yeah.
And, did either of you guys think of, the, Dynamite Comics, female Kato that, Kevin Smith created? He created her in 2010. And, no, you never thought about that?
Nope.
Her outfit is,
No.
it's pretty much similar except for that. It's the same except for the hat. And I don't think she uses a.
That's
katana
interesting.
sword.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. He actually created her for a movie treatment, but didn't materialize, so they just turned it into a comic series.
Okay.
So this would have been about
Okay.
4 years prior to that. Now, and I know Katana she was created in like 1983, but I couldn't help but see some similarities in the way they were.
Has it always
design.
been like her character always had, the souls of enemies trapped in her sword or anything like that?
Oh, Katana?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Not-
about
not
that.
sure.
I thought that was just made for this show.
Is that
But-
just well, it was well,
But I don't
mean,
know. I don't know enough about her.
I don't either. So honestly, like I knew of her, but I didn't really, I didn't have a character biography. And then she showed up in Suicide Squad, the movie, the live action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel Kinnaman's character, that's Katana. The enemies of her inner souls in the sword or something like that or whatever. And I was like, wait, she was on Beware the Batman. I don't think they leaned into that too heavily because I thought they didn't go too out there with that series. And so I'm glad that that wasn't a route that really went on this. Not that I'm some kind of prude. It's just I like my Batman a little bit more grounded than souls being trapped in a sword sort of deal.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
Yeah. I'm not, I fancy myself a amateur Batman historian, but
who's
I do
earning
not fancy
his bat card to be returned to him.
Yeah,
So,
I do not fancy myself a amateur Katana historian, so I can't speak to that either. Either other than that was in the Suicide Squad Suicide Squad, the first one, and I would leads me just by using inferencing skills that probably there's a comic book basis for it.
yeah.
But that's all
Now,
I can add.
in this cartoon, was it her regular katana sword that had that, or was it that green sword that they were fighting over at the beginning? It was like one of the earlier episodes.
I see. I'm fuzzy. I don't even want to.
It was a green sword that kind of glowed, and I
Mhm.
thought that was the soul catcher or whatever they called it.
It might have been. I have, like I said, it's been a while since I watched these, and then then I go back and revisit once we decide to do one, and we've only done one before.
Like,
so
well, dadgummit, I got to go back and watch all 26 again.
yeah, gotta watch all 26.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
been 13 hours of my life watching Batman, animated Batman.
Why not?
Yeah,
I mean, there's worse
Drop in
ways
the bucket.
to spend your
Drop
life.
in the bucket.
There is.
Really, 13
Yeah.
hours.
yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I do like the recurring appearances of Tobias Whale. The voice actor Michael Leon Woolley.
Mhm.
I really like his Tobias Whale. Like the voice, the vocal performance and stuff too. And I know that he pops up in this show because the show was definitely one of like, wow, this is a really different kind of Batman show and not like animated show, not just because of the look, because I know at the time this was the look that animated shows were taking over, but in the sense of the first episode was Professor Pig and Toad, and then it was Magpie, and then Tobias Whale. I mean, 19 episodes in, and then it's like, oh, here's a familiar one, Killer Croc, sort of deal.
Yeah.
It was known for those lower level, C tier villains.
I remember when it was coming out and getting the press releases and the information, they specifically wanted to bring in villains, more obscure villains or lesser used villains than we had seen before.
Yeah.
I would assume that at some point we would have got a Joker in this. We know Harvey Dent was in it. So like I said earlier, I would assume at some point he's Two-Face. So maybe some of the more traditional characters would have come in if they continued, but we will
Crazy
never
Quote
know.
would have finally made his debut.
Yeah, hell yeah. But we also,
sorry. That reminds me of there was a Batman and Robin series where Dick Grayson was Batman and Damian was Robin around the 2010 era, and they were bringing in some of those characters that I hadn't seen ever, or maybe they were created for this book. The pig professor. What was the name?
The Grant Morrison Batman and
Grant
Robin
Morrison.
run.
Yeah.
Which I think that's my favorite stuff Grant Morrison's ever done with Batman, and Bruce Wayne wasn't even Batman.
But they had a lot of those obscure characters in the first few issues of that.
Pig
right?
and Toe were created in that,
Okay, right. That's what I thought. And so they were bringing some of those over into this.
So that was surprising to me for sure. Like, whoa. Because anybody who's read those, it's like, what?
Right.
Bringing Professor Pig into this cartoon show for kids? Okay. I very much scratching the head.
I agree with you on Tobias Whale. I love how he would say baby after everything. You keep your head down, baby. You know that he runs a record label when he's not committing crime. You know he does.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, the way he dresses.
It's too bad he's a villain because he just oozes cool. You
know?
Like everything's very much, we got this. We chill, baby.
I thought you were the king in here. No, I'm the king on the outside, baby.
Yeah. A fun note too is what is it? What's the exact quote? It's like, does he actually look like a penguin, or does he dress like a penguin, or something, something like that? We get just a fun little nod, Easter egg of Oswald.
There
Cobblepot.
You go. Yeah, well, speaking of
series,
classic characters, classic villains. Yeah, you get a look at a cameo of sorts from Penguin.
Speaking of cameos, did you guys? I've watched this twice, and I haven't seen where Ra's al Ghul makes an appearance in a flashback. Did y'all see that? I read that in the trivia, and I'm like, where did that happen?
I didn't notice that myself.
So maybe because my thoughts, I didn't get. So I watched this one on Max because my disc was put away. I didn't have a previously on Beware the Batman, which they always, would have with Katana's voice doing it. Maybe that was in there with Roz, because I read that too, Patrick, with the trivia, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing Mr. Al Ghul at all.
I've watched it
and
twice.
No flashback or anything here, so I don't know where that was.
Yeah, I
lies. The internet lied to us. Never happens. Let's see. I'm trying to think of.
Can I ask you guys a question about the what do you think of the I'm sorry, the music? What do you guys think of the theme song to this intro and outro?
I always liked it. It was short and kind of cool, in my opinion. I don't want to dance like I do every time I hear the Brave and the Bold theme, but I can. Maybe my leg shakes a little bit, during the. Does
your lip kind of come up a little on one side?
Sometimes it comes up. It'll come up sometimes.
Beware.
The reason I ask is for I don't know how long. I guess until I was reading about this episode when I looked up who was the band, the Dum Dum Girls that made this. I thought this was Shonen Knife. Do you guys know Shonen Knife? It's a Japanese punk pop band. All female.
Not.
I saw them open for Nirvana and the Breeders. The only time Nirvana ever played Louisiana was in 1994, and they did that band was really cool. It opened the whole show, and so I thought they sound exactly the same, and I just made the mistake, and then was reading that it was not them, it's the Dum Dum Girls, and I was just curious if you guys knew about that other band.
Have you have you checked out a lot of other music of Dum Dum Girls? Does it sound anything similar to this, or? Yeah,
they both sound like kind of a punk pop,
very much in this.
Yeah, okay. And their lead singers, their vocals are really, really similar. In fact, Shonen Knife, there's a Ramones tribute album they did which is really great. It's all Ramones songs, and you can hear the similarities between the two bands. Anyway,
that just spawned a whole like DC universe of shows at this time. You know, like Beware the Cat, and it's a Catwoman series. I don't know, like what else you got? Beware the Lantern. I don't know, something. You know, just do a whole DC thing. But
I would be
what could have been.
I'd be interested, like when they, when you're putting this show together, how they came up with getting that group to do, doing the theme song, which is. I would be interested just because that's kind of seems like it would be an off the wall type choice. Better, it's much better than if they went with some just musical theme it's not that good, like the second theme from the Batman. I never liked that second theme from that series.
Yeah,
no,
it was a little corny.
Yeah, they did good with the edge. I gotta say, in the Batmanimation intro, I think that this line like pops, or the snippet of music from this show really pops. And I'm glad I know that's the one that it ends on, but
yeah,
it's good. I do like it, and because it doesn't overstay its welcome. I mean, you feel like it's just a tease. When every episode, when the credits come on too.
Yeah,
and, 15, 20 seconds. Done.
Yeah, did you notice at the end there's no lyrics, right? It's just like an instrumental version of the
okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys knew, but most of the time whenever you get one of your songs licensed to a show or whatever, they want two versions. They want one with your lyrics and they want one instrumental, so they can use them in different spots and might have you singing in one area, and then like perfect example is how it rolls out here, and you have it instrumental at the end. Pretty cool. So you can get paid. You can get paid twice. Is the whole point of the whole thing.
There you go. Create show themes.
The intro to our Batmanimation podcast is excellent. I need to run down the guy who made that, because I need to tell him he did a hell of a job. Oh, that'd be Ryan. Ryan.
What?
Yeah.
No,
you did that,
Ryan Haas?
Ryan Lower.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Ryan Lower. Did you forgot that you did that?
This is my favorite one out of all your Batman show intros.
I'm curious though, Bill, when Caped Crusader debuts, like gotta add another channel switch, and I hope that doesn't mess up the flow of what's been going since, I don't know, when did Batmanimation start? It was like August last year or something. Hope it doesn't mess up the flow.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, when the next Batman movie comes out, Batman Part 2, I'm gonna have to shout out to Chris Roach, who did the current theme to you'll hear it with the Batman official, the original podcast, and on Social Hour. We'll have to add a clip of another line from Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Yeah.
In that as well. So that's just, it's just how it evolves, man.
Yeah.
It would be bad if it didn't, because I mean we wouldn't be getting new Batman stuff. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Let's see. What else? You guys have, is there anything else that you want to bring up?
I do have some historical notes if you want to wait.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, just I found that a little interesting. Batman, other cases of Batman being in locked up in jail in a story. Yeah.
Okay. So there's just a plethora. I mean, there are just so many that you could choose from. I picked a few that I thought were pretty cool. Going back to 1952, Batman number 71, there's a group of villains that build a prison and they want to put all the good guys in this prison. So they manage to capture all the law enforcement, stick them in, Batman and Robin stick them in. And of course, Batman escapes by, switching places with the main villain. That's 1952 type of deal. And we fast forward to 1991, you have Detective Comics 629, which is your first mention of Blackgate Prison. No story there about Batman going to prison, but you jump to 1992, Batman Shadow of the Bat. Batman is imprisoned in Arkham Asylum. Then you have 1992's Dreams in Darkness episode where he's admitted to Arkham. Then you have 1992's Batman animated series, The Forgotten, which is where Bruce has amnesia and put into a slave camp. And then have you guys read Batman Blackgate, which is the most similar premise-wise to this episode? It's from 1997.
I have not read that one.
I have not either.
I think I have a copy somewhere. I'd like to read that. I believe he goes in undercover and lets himself be arrested and has to get out just like this episode. And then probably the most famous is Bruce Wayne Murderer. You guys have read that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a big... I know, and I know you're going to end up saying like Bruce Wayne Murderer and then Bruce Wayne Fugitive, and both of them, like each one's a pretty big like trade paperback.
Right.
To contain it all.
And then, of course, in Batman Begins, we have Bruce Wayne in prison in the Bhutan for the first time, I think, in live action.
You are in hell, rich man, and I am the devil. You're not a devil, you're a practice. Love that one.
Yeah.
I would I would throw in the video game Arkham Asylum is almost, Batman has to fight his way out through there.
Is that the second one? Is that Arkham City where he gets arrested? The criminals arrest him or they capture him?
That is Arkham City. That's Arkham City. Is when that's Arkham City was he's actually
Oh wait, I see what you're saying. He has to go into Arkham in the first game.
In the first game, it's in Arkham Asylum.
Right.
And then in Arkham City, they have turned part of Gotham into Arkham prison, basically. And he goes, well, we're getting on it's Batman, the Batman Game Club is starting to pop up here. But yeah.
I don't want to step on their toes.
But in Arkham City, he is in a prison in a way. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Did I made a mistake earlier. I thought this was the first animated Batman series to have Batman dressing all in black. And when I went back and did a little more research, we have he wears, let's see, there is the Gotham Knight. There's a segment in Gotham Knight where you had an all black Batman suit in animation. Batman Beyond is pretty much all black except for some of the red highlights. And then there's an episode for the new Batman Adventures called Torch Song, where he fights Firefly, and he has pretty much an all black fireproof suit with some kind of grayish blue highlights and stuff. So, but for an ongoing series, this is definitely the first Batman series where he's all in black. I'm sure you like it.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, it's a good looking suit. I think it was it reminds me of the movies, of course, before, up through Batman Begins, Dark Knight and all that. Now we've seen a little different variations with the Ben Affleck suit, and then of course the Lee Bermejo. Here comes Lee. It's all connected. Lee's back.
So yeah.
Lee Bermejo inspired suit from the Batman. So yeah, I thought it was kind of a nod in a way to reminds me of the Batman Begins suit.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More so than Dark Knight Rises, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's pretty sleek. One note, and this is all I've got left for this for myself, is just I noticed watching again how sometimes the animation is really fluid. A lot of the action scenes are really cool. And sometimes when they walk, it's just a little stiff. Do y'all notice that as well? It's just there's such a discrepancy in the flow of the animation. But it doesn't bother me. It's just I noticed it in this one. The fight scenes, basically, essentially.
Yeah. Don't kick me off this podcast for this, Bill, but I've been watching a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series instead of Batman lately.
What shirt are you wearing?
The series, Ninja Turtles. The 2012 series.
Don't let Joe Leva hear that.
The animation style was like this one. And I was noticing in both. So Batman's in Gotham here in this one. Ninja Turtles are in New York in that one. And the streets are pretty bare always. And I think the Turtles take, like, a lot of episodes take place at night. So it's like, story wise, you could think, and then Gotham, obviously, Batman at night. It's like, well, the streets should be empty because it's at nighttime. And it's like, you can't help but start to think more and more of like, oh, because it's less. And then you see, as you just brought up, of some stiff just walking down the streets. And it's like, well, the citizens you do see on the streets are very much like, I'm just walking down the street, kind of movements. And so, like, I thought about that. I'm
Stiff
like,
arms. Their arms aren't even bent.
Yeah,
It's just...
exactly. And it's like, oh, it's probably with that. There's probably, when it comes to budget of like, well, we can't populate with 97 people just walking in the background. So that was something that didn't stand out to me at one point. And I think it was the whoever was the head of Blackgate, when they put the key in the cell and Dent's next to him, and they did a turn and to walk, and it seemed like what you just said of the stiff arm, kind of like sort of walking.
It's like they're in The Sims. Remember that game?
Yes, yeah. Maybe that's what he's doing. He's going to add a second story to his house, and he's just marching to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah.
But I mean, but like you said, for like the other part, I do like the animation in this and the sleekness of some stuff. And I really like Batman's movements, and I do like his suit quite a bit.
And the fight scenes are really great in this series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, but I guess you got to cut the budget somewhere, because you do have a budget.
All the stiff-armed extras. It teased me up for my last question for each of you, as far as like, for this episode, what was your favorite part? And I'll just, because a perfect transition into it, that my favorite was Batman fighting Croc.
I will just say that favorite. I'll just get a little more detailed and say Batman noticing Croc's weaknesses and how they did that.
There you go.
Go to look at Batman, Croc, bruised. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Springboarding off of that, do you guys remember the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies fight scenes where the whole fight would go in his head before he actually attacked? That's what I remembered when I was watching him look at all the weak spots in Croc. So I'm with you on there. I think we're all kind of in the same boat. Him like having to outsmart his opponent and take advantage of, the areas where he was injured. I thought that was really cool.
Robert Downey Jr. was in Sherlock Holmes. He's in a new movie called Oppenheimer. Directed by Christopher Nolan, who directed the Dark Knight trilogy. It's all connected.
Here we go.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you guys like to see another Batman animated series done with computer animation like this? Because the limitations you may have had back then, I know it's not that old, but technology is advanced. A little bigger budget. Would you enjoy that or no?
Yes. Because I liked this, and this show was a decade ago, so it's only gotten better. And then the recent movie of the Super Sons was the first of the DC animated movies where they incorporated computer animation, and I thought it looked really good. So and I really liked how Batman looked in that too. And so for me, it's like, oh yeah, instantly. I love throwback animation of hand-drawn stuff. I love that look, and it feels very genuine and pure. But I like sharp and crisp too, just depending on the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up what Ryan said, that they're starting to like have hybrid computer hand-drawn type stuff. And so, I'd like to. We'll see. I don't know exactly what the Caped Crusader is going to look like, or what they're going to use, what kind of technology they're going to use. I know with Bruce Timm, there'll be a lot of hand, quote unquote, hand-drawn designs and whatnot. But, this is not Walt Disney Studios back in the 30s, flipping pages, so they're doing it. So, we'll see what the Caped Crusader is. And yes, I would like to see them use more of that technology in the future.
Yep. Let's go ahead and let's put a bow on this, a black bow.
Oh, one thing, Ryan.
Shape of that. Let's not put a bow on this yet.
One thing. Hold on. Got an idea for Batman Book Club.
Okay.
Batman number 71 from 1952, The Jail for Heroes.
You want me to dip back into the 50s?
I'll join you.
It left me on a high note when we did the Rainbow Batman story. So I don't know. A lot of pressure. If I go back into that decade, it's got a high bar to live up to on that.
Yeah, that and
but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. All right. There we go. Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's do some quick plugins. Patrick, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Anything you want to plug away, direct people to go, or anything like that?
Well, aside from Batman on Film, where you get all your Batman news on a daily
Never heard
basis.
of it.
Yeah. You can check out the cflats.com, TheSeaflats, or just the C-Flats anywhere you listen to music.
Sweet. Bill?
Batman-on-film.com. And the only thing I will mention or besides that is, since I'm trying to get away from the social app. Well, yes, I am trying to do that too. But the social media app, formerly known as Twitter, now is just X. All of a sudden this morning, you can follow BOF and Team BOF over at Threads. It's at the Batman on Film. So check us out over there.
Follow my show, the Batman Book Club, on Batman on Film. Bill generously posts all of the episodes from that podcast on the website. The most recent was with another Ryan, Mr. Ryan Haas, and we talked the Dark Knight novelization. That was a really fun conversation. It was the first time read for me, so I love it. As if anybody's listening to that show, I love it when I get to read something for the first time. So yeah, that was fun. On Batman on Film, also White Knight Generation Joker #3 review is up. So yeah, there you go. But you mentioned something. Oh yeah, so you said Threads, and I started for Batman Book Club on Threads, but I don't know what that's supposed to be or how to do anything with it, so I haven't really done anything with it until I figure out what I'm. Like, what's the angle? Should I just not do stuff on Twitter and do it there instead?
What's the at Threads? So I can go follow it.
Oh, the Batman BC. I took a page out of the Italian Boudin Pockets, Pete, and he just kept his social media the same thing. And I'm like, I don't know. That is, because then it's just so easy to just for anybody. I'm just like, it's just at the Batman BC. Wherever you go, that's what it is. And so that's what I did on Threads. I might be following you. Might be following announcer Rachel.
I think I found you.
Okay.
All
right, there we
go. Patrick, you're on Threads now too?
I heard that's like the Wild West right now. Has it gotten any better structure to it, or is it just kind of should I switch over to that? I haven't tried it yet.
It was the hot new thing, and I feel that way of like, for as many people that signed up, I that's why I said I feel like when I've gone in there, I'm just meandering because I don't know I haven't figured out like what to do with it. Or if what you do elsewhere, just do it here too, sort of deal. Because then that just becomes funny because it's like, hey, everybody I follow and interact with on Instagram, I also do on Twitter. It's like, well, do I need to do that here too? Because I'm already doing it in 2 other places. So what makes this different?
It's more Twitter than Instagram. It's essentially Meta's version of Twitter, or X now, whatever.
X.
Well, the whole thought of starting up a new profile on a new social media site makes me want to slam my head into the wall. So
exactly.
But I will probably I'll follow your lead and I'll give it a shot.
There you go. Batman on Film is gonna lead the way on Threads. Follow that thread.
It always does.
I don't know.
There we go.
Trailblazer.
All right. Trailblazer, yeah. The Texas Trailblazer. Pew, pew. Yep. So for Patrick and Bill, I am Ryan. This has been Batmanimation and Thread Talk. We'll let announcer Rachel take us out.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter @Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter @TheBatmanOnFilm. Follow Jett on Twitter @BatmanOnFilm. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original, established in 1998.